It's that time again. It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. We're going to talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about. Hey. Oh, it's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. Welcome, Babbleites, to our wonderful show hosted in the wonderful kingdom of Babblot. And we are streaming live from YouTube. Welcome, the ever-enjoyable court gesture, Sir Badger the Brave, Barry Doublet.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're having a good time. Oh, good midday to you,
Good
American
afternoon.
people.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
sir.
Oh, yes, good afternoon. How are we all doing on these early January cold mornings? Unless you're in Australia, then it's not
still
so cold.
warm, or at the equator.
Oh, at the it's an equator. It's not an
Equator. It's like email. Equation. Yeah, it's something like that. You know how it
So
goes.
which way round does the email go? Does it go that way or will it go
It's
that
circles.
way?
It's circles back and forth. That's why they have the little circle button up there when you hit refresh.
Yeah.
Because of the equator.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I love that. I love seeing them when they pour water either side of the equator down a little hole, and you see that it funnels in a different way on both sides of the equator. It's incredible.
Really? And then that takes you to the Delta Quadrant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nobody knows what we're talking about because we have lost our minds. All right. Well, today we have an awesome show, and we are so excited to reveal our fantastic guest, Sir Ryan of Bruns.
Ta-da!
Yeah, there'll be a ta-da added in the audio podcast, but
Okay. He does his own sound effects. He does voice acting. He's done a lot of things in Hollywood. Robert Geislinger is in the house.
Castle.
Good to see. Well, I tell you, Ryan and I go back quite a long way. We're very good friends, and Ryan has had a long history in the board game hobby. We're going to talk about that a bit more when we get to our Babble topic. We're going to talk about his new venture with Off-Duty Ninjas, where he works with a marketing company in the board game hobby. But he has a vast resume of work in the hobby, former president of Mayday Games, and many of you that have gone to conventions, you can't help but miss this wonderful, handsome hunk of a guy, right? You know, he towers up at 6'5" and stands above the crowd. So
the money is being wired to you now. Thank you for this.
You're very welcome. Yes, thank you.
While doing my research for Ryan Burns, there's quite a lot of Ryan Burns on the internet, and it was like it was going to be potluck of which picture I pick. As there was like a Ryan Burns that works for Ubisoft, and there's a Ryan Burns that works in the movie industry, and then it's like, okay, which one is it? But
and that's why it's because it's Ryan Bruns, B-R-U-N.
Oh, right, that's
versus
right.
Burns.
Yeah, there's not so many of those. Maybe there are. I don't know. I haven't Googled my name for a while.
Well, we're going to do a lot of fun stuff on the show. Why don't you give a quick little overview of what we're going to do on the show, Barry?
Okay, I will read from the script, and hopefully my tongue will not fall over itself. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 90, Marketing Before and After. We're going to have a quick talk about what's been happening in our town of Babblot before doing a roundup of rumors and things that make our king go, and then we're going down to our prison cells to see our prisoner, Ryan, who is going to be interrogated about some gaming stuff. Yes, we're going to try and find out some of the games that he's been playing recently and what games he likes. And then we're going to wrap up this podcast with our Babble topic, talking about how the marketing world has changed over the past year, 2 years. And be curious to see, what is going to happen in the future of marketing. I mean, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself now. I'm already interested in this subject. So,
I'm super excited about the game show because, when after COVID hit, we weren't playing as many games with as many people and connecting at the conventions. So for a time, we haven't had it's been a while from the guest. I think the last guest we had on maybe was Robert Geislinger. Aldi was on the show, and Jamie Stegmeyer. I think we had Scott Morris was on the show. It's been a while because of all this. So, but this was one of the favorite segments. People love this game show, which is just a lot of fun. So we hope those that join us live, you'll enjoy that. And you'll also be able to pick up this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio after it's professionally audio edited. So let's move on to first, our sponsor is Arcane Wonders.
Yeah.
Arcane Wonders has been a partner of ours since we started Berkey and Badger. Love the team at Arcane Wonders, Robert Geislinger, Brian Pope, and all the other team members. Just a fantastic company putting out super high quality games. You can go to arcanewonders.com. What's really hitting the buzz right now is this game called Picture Perfect, where you're actually got these little standees and you're putting them in a group and you're trying to formulate that with a little bit of deduction and so forth. Really creative, unique game that's getting a ton of buzz there. You can see the picture that Barry's posting. And
it's almost perfect.
Very perfect. If it had your face in it, it'd be even more perfect. I believe that they have those in stock now. In addition, the game Furnace, which is a really cool engine building game, that game has been getting a lot of buzz. And of course, Arcane Wonders has a bunch of stuff up their sleeve, but they're getting ready within the next couple months or so. I believe we're going to be seeing fulfillment of the Foundations of Rome game. You're also going to see Freedom 5 coming in the not too long future. So a lot of super fun things. You can go to arcanewonders.com, check out all the goodies.
Oh, I forgot about Foundations of Rome. So looking forward to playing that.
Very looking forward to that one.
I cannot wait. It's I had an early prototype that was amazing, but the new production that they did on it, I mean, it's off the hook. And we actually had our artist Yaroslav Radecki do the artwork for the game mat, the Roman themed game mat for Game Toppers. And they've already sent those game mats out to all the backers way ahead of time, over 1,000 of them. So that was really cool. People are chomping at the bit to get this thing. And it's going to be, I think, one of the best games they've produced. I love Sheriff of Nottingham, but that game, that's top notch. Emerson Matsuchi design. It's off the hook.
That might explain that email I got a little while ago saying, no, there's a delivery coming on Friday. I better make space on my shelf.
Nice. And that's a big honking box, man, with all those trays. I mean, they went over the top on the production of this thing. It's remarkable.
Yeah, talking about over the top. I just received last week Titan from Holy Grail Games, and that's a big box as well. That takes up about it's about 4 Ticket to Ride, 5, maybe 6 Ticket to Ride boxes stacked together. We
could do a whole episode just on big boxes.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move right along because we want to get to all the goodness. So we just go right into what's been happening in Babblot for you there, Sir Barry.
Oh, yes. I've been having an enjoyable week. It's been lockdown week here. Basically, everyone's got COVID apart from me. And so I'm just waiting for it to come. It's been like 5 days already. And I'm just like, nope, still haven't got it. It's nice to have the family at home. We had a surprise game of Ticket to Ride yesterday. And we got to play a few of the different maps, which we haven't played yet, which was nice. So I'll tell you what, having the family near you most of the time has been like the greatest sensation in the past 2 years. That's one of the best things that have come out of this pandemic, I think, is this kind of closeness and bonding that you've had with your kids is just blown my mind. I've never been happier. I was always like, really, I don't want kids, but they've been great.
That's awesome. Have you seen the new the new Ticket to Ride 10th Anniversary Europe edition?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Or 20th anniversary, right?
20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 10 year was for the standard. But what a great game to play with family, right?
Yeah, my wife got the pink trains, which where the
yeah.
money goes a bit towards cancer. So yeah, she loves playing with her pink trains. That's the only reason she wanted to play. But anyway, yeah, other news. I just started work this morning after having an email the other day from Lucky Duck Games. They've got me working on another soundtrack for their new and up-and-coming Kickstarter, which is coming in March. And that game, you may already know it. If I can find it, there it is the Dark Quarter. Ooh. So yes, it's going to be slightly app-driven. It's set in the 80s, and it's kind of, that's all I know. It's in Louisiana as well, so I've had to do some research on music from Louisiana, and wow. So I am really excited to be involved again in another Lucky Duck project, creating sound effects and music for their apps. So I'm looking forward to getting that wrapped up as quick as possible, because obviously tight timeline, and hopefully the Kickstarter will be a great success, and I'm sure it will be.
Oh,
like most of their games. So that's what's been happening very recently in Babblot, in the south kind of slums. Let's go to the palace and find out what the king has been up to.
I see Rob McBride from Scyther Gaming is in the castle. Welcome, Rob. Basically, for us, we're up in Minnesota. Yeah, sure, you betcha, And it is freezing up here. We're literally freezing our tails
Fargo's off.
Yeah. They freeze and then they fall off in chunks. That's how cold it is.
Yeah. Your Fargo's are frozen.
Yeah, we had 24 below zero last night and 25 mile an hour winds. So we're talking 40, 50 below wind chills. We're talking 5-minute exposure and to the wind and freeze, having frostbite. So it's very cold right now, and we've been getting a lot of snow. But in the midst of all that, I got out my fish house, because in Minnesota you got to go out. I actually walk on water.
I knew
in the winter. It's frozen. It's ice. Robert says it's freezing in Indiana too, and my furnace went out this week. Oh no.
Oh.
Not below zero, but we hit zero. Well, I would love zero.
What, zero Coke?
But yeah, right, Coke Zero. In the fish house. So, but then what's cool about the fish house in the winter is you go out there and you fish and you catch a few fish. I'm on a lake that's only about 5 miles from my home. There's so much snow, we had to have plow trucks to plow roads to get the fish house out. But we just made 200 pounds of our German sausage. This is a 5-generation handed down recipe from the old country. It's heavy on garlic and a little bit of salt and curing, but it's pork and venison, and it's just this awesome sausage. We made it. My brother came down and made a couple 100 pounds. And so then when we go out to the fish house, not only are we fishing and sometimes playing games, I've got a little portable game topper that I built that folds up and down on the wall. So we can play card games and small footprint type of games. But then we've got a little cook stove, and we can make the sausage out in the fish house. It's like life is good.
That's what Robert said as well. Berkey is all zero at barbecue weather.
Yeah, the wind. The post office, they say rain, sleet, snow, nothing will stop them. I'm like, nothing stopping Berkey from being out on the grill in the wintertime. I'm going to bundle up and I'm going to be out there and we're going to have at it.
Wow.
So that's basically what I've been up to. And we do this little fun segment just to kind of stay in touch with our backers. We hear a lot of people. I don't know why anybody would be interested in what we're doing, but it seems like that there is some interest. So we let you know a little bit of our life. So with that, we're going to move on to our news segment, things that make the king go,
And There it is.
This is the Board Game News, where King Berkey reflects on some of the current things happening in the board game industry. Some may be good, some may be bad, but they're all things that made our king go, hmm.
I'd still be bopping in my head, man.
I have to do a remix, make it longer.
I like it.
That's right.
Well, I know we got a couple things, and the court jester is going to chime in on this, things that make you go as well. But the thing that made me go this is slightly older news, but the report was that I know the owner of Miniature Market real well, Steve Lazinski, and it started getting trickled out that Asmodee had purchased Miniature Market. And so there was a whole bunch of hubbub about that, because there's lots of folks in the hobby that you see, at least in the threads, that don't always have positive feelings about Asmodee, especially in relation to distribution. A lot of retailers I've spoke to have had stories to tell about some of the channels, and they've bought out some other companies to do distribution, and they do things a little bit differently. And people were greatly concerned that now that was what would happen to Miniature Market, whereas they had been very, very good to deal with. Well, it made me go, when I first heard it, because I thought it seemed like everybody immediately jumped to the conclusion that, they're going to pop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all going to hell in a handbasket, excuse my language. And that's really not what I'm seeing gonna happen. I could be wrong. You never know. Sometimes when things get corporate, all of a sudden things become more numerical than personal. But if I know Steve, I know he cares deeply about his customers and doing a lot of infrastructure planning to make sure that people are taken care of well. And from what I'm understanding, it hasn't really changed anything, but it really made me go, that people's reactions were so quickly negative about the news. What do you think about that, Ryan? You might have some input to that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I know he'll take good care of his customers, and I don't see. I saw that same reaction and came to the same conclusion. Like, let's give them a fair shake. I mean, they've provided great service, and I think they'll continue to do it that way. So, give them a shot. I don't think it'll be that what everyone is doom and gloom is what the rumors were. So,
yeah, I think as long as he stays involved anyway, or people that care like he cares, I do get the concern, because man, I hate the one thing about with Game Toppers, for instance. I've learned a lot from Jamie Stegmaier. I read his book, audiobook, listened to his audiobook, and read his audiobook, because it's easier to read it than listen. But I learned a lot about how he personally interacted with so many people. And I really have endeavored to personally reach out to every person that emails us, messages us, that type of thing. And we've have that culture in our company. And sometimes when you get large and get corporate, all of a sudden that goes all away, and you can't get a hold of anybody, and you become, antiseptic in your approach. And we don't want to see that happen for them, because they've been really good. So.
Yeah, I was just remembering, I was watching a Trick Track telly, and they were saying that Asmodee have been bought out by is it Embracer, who is a video game company.
Oh,
okay.
This news to you?
I'm not familiar with that.
Because this article was posted on the 16th of December, and I heard about this last week. But yeah, Asmodee has been bought out by a video game company. They own several video game companies as well, so they're keeping it in the gaming world. But yeah, even bigger news.
I did hear that. That's actually the parent company that the investment group that owned Asmodee got bought out by the other company. That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm no good at news. I'm a rumor monger.
Yeah, Rob McBride says business obviously spend money to buy other businesses. In order to recover that money, they need to do right by their customer to keep getting new business. And that's true, I believe. One would assume something else that he wants to say that I can't see. So
yeah, well, that's all he wrote. He probably wrote a naughty word. I don't know.
Yeah.
One would assume. Yeah.
He fell out of his chair.
He fell out
there
of
it goes.
chair.
All right. Well,
or he was in the middle of a game,
Right.
and he was like, "Oh, it's my turn, is it? Okay, I'll finish this later."
200 character limit. Soul Ray says.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Barry. I think you got
okay.
something
The only thing that made me go is the Call Me or Not Marvel zombie game with the extremely large miniature.
Wow.
I'm surprised that so many people have backed it.
Where's it at now? Is it over 5 million?
Ooh.
I can't remember where the tab for Kickstarter is because I haven't used Kickstarter in so long.
Let's take a look.
I was at 4.3 million a couple days ago, but it was moving.
Yeah, I looked at it and I thought 120 euros for the base game.
Yeah, 150 US.
Yeah.
4.6 million.
4.6.
Oh, well.
7, so.
It was. I saw some comments. I'll let you finish, but I saw some comments from Evan at Ryder Games, Van Ryder Games, because their Kickstarter with their Final Girl, is it called?
Yeah, Final Girl
Oh, yeah.
Season 2. Yep.
Yeah, and it was like at 1.3 million, and they were the king of the hill. And he goes, "Well, it was nice being the leader of Kickstarter for a day or something like that." And then Cool Mini comes on and rah.
Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, it was a very short campaign. It was about 15 days, wasn't it? And they
yeah,
made
I
that
think-
much money already. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that whole Zombicide franchise now, you can really call it that.
Yeah.
People love this game. I mean, they people have boxes and boxes of Zombicide stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's carried over. They did a space theme, correct, as well, or something to this sort. I'm unfamiliar with all of their lines with this.
No.
Yeah, I think they did actually. Trying to remember what it was. They had an older,
They had the Black Plague one.
the Black Plague.
Black Plague, right.
which tickled my fancy, but I still never backed it. But yeah. But yeah, that made me go, "Wah-wah-wah," more than But yeah, it's incredible that people can still afford to back these very large and expensive Kickstarters.
How about that big honkin' miniature for
Yeah,
Galacticus?
Galactus. Yeah, I'm like, wow. Is
They
anyone
did
going
that-
to really play with it? I mean, I've got Batman, and I still haven't played with the Batmobile. It's there, and it's like I want to play a scenario with the Batmobile, but it's like one scenario in the whole game. It's like,
Is that as large as the Cthulhu Death May Die figure? Do you know?
I don't
Possibly.
know, but I was just going to mention that Cthulhu, that you have one of those, don't you?
Yeah, he's right over here. I can grab it. He's painted up, and
Yeah, show us that
yeah,
thing.
just one moment.
Just one moment, please.
yeah. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, you're going to miss out on this painted Cthulhu. Yeah. So you're going to want to tune into the
It's like
video.
6 foot tall, right?
Yeah, he's quite large.
Good grief,
Let's-
look at that.
Let's
Yeah,
zoom
we
in.
got the ocean, and sorry, that
Nice.
lines are really
I would have done red now varnish.
not. Yeah, we need to paint his nails, but I did not paint this. I will not take credit for that. I commissioned somebody to do it. I like painting, but this seemed a little daunting. So
That
Yeah.
game would look so cool on our Cthulhu mat. Have you seen our Cthulhu mat that we did?
I have. I think I saw it. You showed it to me a while ago, but
Yeah,
yes,
'cause
I need
he's
to get
the-
that mat.
Yeah, I got to get that to you because that'd be cool.
There you go. It's
Well-
62 centimeters tall.
Or he could be conquering the foundations of Rome, Matt, right? He's stomping through Rome.
Ooh.
Oh, it could be. Maybe we could do a movie where Galacticus and
Cthulhu.
There we
fight
go.
each other.
I bet someone will.
But
Well, this is the gig, guys. Games have turned into toys because the miniatures. I mean, you look at Restoration Games; they just got that new Vendetta that just came out, and the miniature little cars. They're Matchbox cars with weapons on them, and I mean, now things are getting so elaborate with all of the miniatures. It seems like as soon as you put out a game with cool miniatures, people really are excited about it.
Yeah, it's the nice tie-in there. I mean, it doesn't just appeal to board gamers; it appeals to people that like having, their Cosmaster figures because they look like bobbleheads and things like that. Again, I think this goes back to Monopoly. Nobody liked playing Monopoly, but there was a Doctor Who Monopoly, and your friend was a Doctor Who fan, so you'd bought them that for Christmas.
yeah,
Right?
right.
Well, Soul Rays MH says, "Yep, that's that fear of missing out driving huge minis," and I think that's one of the big deals. People want to get these Kickstarter exclusives, if you will. Some people hate that. I'm not. Yeah. I try not to do just exclusives on Kickstarter. I like to make it available to everybody, but I know that's a big marketing push. That's something we might talk about later. Yeah. But yeah, it's super interesting. So people still have plenty of money to spend, right?
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I guess what we want to do is we want to introduce our guest a little bit more here and then move right into our What Game is Behind the Door segment. So with that, do you have a track you want to drop now?
We'll do the track.
Do the track.
Someone in Babblot has been a very naughty person and been thrown into the dungeons of Babblot. But Berkey and Badger are nice people, and they're going to give them 3 questions to try and worm their way out of their prison sentence in What Game is Behind the Door?
He's bopping again.
Yeah, he's dancing.
To get my pen, it's time to get serious about this. So we got the What Games Behind the Door. This is so much fun. People seem to enjoy this, and our guests enjoy it, and I enjoy it, and that's all that really matters. If I enjoy it, I'm here to amuse myself, and if you aren't amused, then I'm still amused. So this is the deal. Ryan and I have, like we said at the intro, we go back a long ways. We have been to many, many conventions together. When COVID hit, we actually have a group of friends that we started actually Skyping together and doing Zoom calls together just to stay in touch with one another. And so there's a long, wonderful history there. So love Ryan, love his family, and love what he brings to the hobby. And so with that, Ryan, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your history of how you got into gaming and what a little bit of your progression has been.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. And likewise, I love Berkey. He's a wonderful man and was actually had the pleasure of going back to his neck of the woods this past summer.
Yeah.
And seeing all the many lakes that there are in Minnesota. And I also got to try his cooking, which is unreal. Like, he's a man of all talents. But with gaming, I've always dabbled in board gaming growing up. I actually have an aunt that lives in Minnesota down near the Twin Cities, and she would send our family board games as I was growing up, and games that weren't typically found on your typical gaming shelf. So I got exposure to some of those. And then my story starts similar to like a lot of people's. I got out of college and went a long life, and then met a coworker that introduced me to Settlers of Catan. And I thought that was an amazing game, and then took a try. So I followed the similar path, right? And then started purchasing games. That's back when all the games I owned, I knew how to play. That's not possible now.
Yeah.
Back when I could grab a game off the shelf and like, I can teach this to you. Now it's like, well, do you have 15 minutes so I can brush up on this? or the comments lately is, why do you have so many games in shrink? Well, okay. So anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll touch on that later. But so got into gaming, and then I was a land surveyor and working for a civil engineering firm. And I started bringing some of these games into the office, and we would have a few times a week where we'd play at lunch. Well, I started noticing that these coworkers, these colleagues would take these games home, and their families would buy them, they would borrow them. And I started saying, this is kind of a cool little idea. So I started a little side business, I guess, where I would come in and teach games, and had a deal set up where I could get the games and sell them, kind of this thing, because I had a passion for doing this. And that spawned into a little online game store that I created. So I started selling games online for a few years. Yep, it just became very big really fast. Not big for me, having a full-time job and also trying to do this. And I was the packaging, the customer service, the running the website, it became a lot.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, my son has a rare disease, and at a period of that time, all of that became manifest, and so there's a lot of medical bills. So I ended up closing that website down and liquidating off product to pay for that. And that's how I got to meet a lot of generous publishers in this industry, because I ran a gaming auction to raise money for those. And there's a lot of publishers that I've never met or were exposed to, other than carrying their products and selling them, stepped forward and donated products and took care of the shipping. It was tremendous, and the generosity of the gaming industry. And I've always loved gamers because they're my people, right? And I'm a gamer, but that really endeared me to just the generosity and warmth of this industry, and how tight knit it is, and really have a special place for gamers, because at the end of the day, we're all just people, and we share this beautiful hobby together. So it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Then I got involved with Mayday Games on a part-time basis, and soon thereafter became full-time and started down the path of gaming and going to shows. And I think that's where we were introduced in doing that, and going to conventions. And
how long were you with Mayday Games, for instance?
I started there full-time in 2015, but prior to that, part-time, I would say, is about 2011.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, about 10 years or so ago. So I started my little gaming on-side company like 2007, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
So that's back when Tom Vassell was written reviews and a few video reviews.
Right.
And there was probably 6 podcasts or 5 podcasts that were running at the time. So after that transition with Mayday had some transition in their company, and you stepped down from that and started doing a few other things. Now you're actually working in the marketing side of the business. Is that right? That is correct. So this past fall, I was 2021. I was accepted a job with Off Duty Ninja, who Kira Peevely runs that company. So accepted a position with them.
Yeah, Kira's awesome.
Oh, she's great. So I'm an account manager over there with John D, who you also know as well.
Yeah, John D's fun.
And she was a colleague of mine at Mayday Games at one point. So
for those of you who don't know, Off Duty Ninja is a marketing company. We'll let Ryan talk about this a little bit more in the Babble topic when we get there. But Kira has helped me with Game Toppers with some of our marketing projects and Kickstarter and different things like that too. And they just do a great job to help get the word out about products and those kind of things. And great team. Kira worked with Man vs. Meeple also with their live Twitch channel and all of that.
Yeah, it's been a great experience so far. And I don't know if I could call myself a veteran, because there's many people in this industry that have a lot more years in than I do. But with this side of the market, I've been learning a lot of what there is on the marketing side of gaming. So it's been a very good experience thus far. So, and I love it. I love over there.
Awesome. Well, I think with that, that's basically, in a nutshell, Ryan Bruns, where he's at. We're going to talk some more about marketing, but let's just move right into our what game is behind the door.
Yes.
Go ahead, Barry. Give us an overview.
Okay, don't forget, if you're listening, watching, whatever, you can join in. We're going to need to hide the chat because we don't want to cheat. Yeah.
What?
Right.
Even though we need cheats because
It's good to be the king, and the king can do whatever he wants.
we forget what board games are, especially with so
All right,
many
I'll
coming out
turn it off.
every week. But anyway, yes, 3 questions. The first question is, what was the last game that Ryan purchased? And we're going to do this in a kind of 20 questions kind of esque thing, but we're going to ask 5 questions each. And after each question, Ryan's going to hold up one component, and we're going to try and narrow this guessing down and try and figure out what the last game he purchased
I
was.
saw fear in his eyes. Do you have your components ready?
I do.
Okay.
They're right here.
What? Components?
The first one is the Cthulhu.
Yeah. That's that game.
What's that game?
Yeah. What one has a large plastic piece like that?
Okay, so
part 2.
question number 1, Mr. King Berkey.
All right, number 1. And now, okay, this is for those of you who follow along. I saw Kabuki Kid has joined the castle. Welcome. What was the last game you purchased? Is it in a Ticket to Ride size box?
It is.
Okay. Ticket to Ride size box. Yes.
Okay. Is it a game that you would consider mainly a Euro style?
Yes-ish.
Yes.
Yes-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. And now for the first component.
Component. Yes, you know that. And
So I'm
yes,
just-
component.
I'm making it difficult, right?
A
A-
bag. A bag.
A
He
bag.
showed us a bag.
Okay.
Okay, it's actually a pouch. So this could be for a bag building game, for instance. It's a black pouch for all you audio listeners. So there's no stitching on it. It's not multicolored where each one has their own. It looks like a generic. Is it velvet?
Not velvet.
He looks like Vanna White showing
Yeah,
off.
I'm just showing, it comes with these,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Tassels.
You could get, yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. I don't have a guess right now.
I do. Isn't there a new version of Quacks of Quedlinburg coming or possibly out?
I was just going to say that.
There is on the version, but that's not the game.
That's
Okay.
not the game.
No.
What's the new Quacks?
This is so awful because it's in shrink and it's downstairs and I don't even know the name of it.
I've got the Herb Witches expansion.
Is
But
that
they're-
no? It was some. Maybe I don't. I don't know.
I love that game. Okay. So number 2. Now that we know that, was it produced in the last 2 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is it? Me. What'd you put in the bag? Let's think. What kind of question can narrow this down? Is it resources that go into the bag?
I don't know.
Oh, so he hasn't even played it.
Yeah.
It's still in shrink.
No, I ripped it open.
Yeah,
even
you had
prior
to
to
because
this,
you're
right.
showing components.
Okay.
But you're magical.
To be
You can
fair,
probably just-
I have had the intent to play this every night for the last 2 weeks, and it's not.
Well, get her done.
I know.
Get her
Maybe-
done.
He doesn't know if resources go in the bag or if dice go in the bag or
Well, then
something
you,
else
if
goes
he
in the bag.
doesn't know, you get another question. So there.
Okay. Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
sire.
We're not counting that nonsense.
Okay. Is there a market involved in the game?
Nope.
No market.
Market. No. Okay. Second component.
Unknown caller.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay.
That was lame. But it was
That
a
was
good
the
tune.
second component.
I'm looking at these components, saying how mean do I want to be? Okay.
That
Okay.
wasn't good.
No.
Okay.
Big
Looks
white
like a
disc.
white little.
They are going to get easier. I have
Okay.
some levels here with.
So this is a round wooden token that looks like a disc, right? And it's white.
Yes, it's a white disc. This one.
And it's wooden. It's not tile, right?
It is wooden.
It is wooden.
It's strange because my version of Can't Stop has white tokens like that. Well, they're not white, but it's purple and yellow, and it also has a black bag.
Doesn't
Really?
have the doesn't have the cones?
No,
Really?
Huh.
no, it's a mount. It's mountain climbing. They've changed the theme to mountain climbing here in France.
I had no
So
idea.
you've got was it 10 mountains, and obviously mountain number 7 is the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you've got like figurines, which are the people climbing. So like your 3 cones are figures walking up, and then your bases are these little discs.
Oh, I want that now. Even
Yeah.
though I own Can't Stop. But
And it's
Yeah,
a
that sounds
double-sided
better,
board
doesn't it?
as well. So
Yeah.
there's like a day board and a night board. So you got
what?
aesthetic. Yeah,
Well, that's pretty cool. I like
the
that.
privileges of being in France.
But then everything's written in France too.
Yeah, but it's like Tom Vassell, send us the rules in English on a video. There you go.
Well,
Sorted.
So, okay, this could be a moving component. I don't have a guess right now.
No, nor do I.
Okay.
All right, third.
Question 3.
What's throwing me is the bag. Why would they have the bag? Maybe he couldn't answer the question, but maybe the resources go in the bag, and then you randomly pull them out to fill the board.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me think. Ooh, that makes me think.
Go on.
Did you get a new deluxeified version of Orleans? And you got to put stickers on those dials?
It is not Orleans.
Okay.
But I do have a deluxeified version of Orleans.
I love that game too.
It's a great game.
Okay.
Barry, did you have a guess?
No, I'm going to pass.
Okay, so then
Question 3.
third question is there card drafting?
No.
No card drafting.
He threw his pen. No,
No,
there is no card drafting.
I got Butterfingers.
No.
Okay.
Butterfingers.
Butterfingers.
Butterfingers. I got Butterfingers.
Yeah, I normally keep my pencils up my nose. That's why it slipped out my hands. It's just like the snot. But anyway, does each player have one of those bags? There you go. No. There's just one generic bag
community
for-
bag. Okay.
One cloth bag.
Yeah.
Okay. Component number 3.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay, this is a little chubby meeple token. It doesn't look like a meeple. It's a little chubby, round Michelin Man type
Yeah.
wooden component that's more like a pawn, and it's orange.
Red.
Mm.
Well,
Is it red?
Yeah, it's red.
It looks
Okay.
orange in the picture. So my screen resolution is wrong.
Yeah. I still have no
Orange.
guess.
Red. Yeah, I don't have. Well, let me think. I'm gonna make a guess. He said he just got it. Now I haven't played this games, but is it the Renegade Game Studio Viscounts
No,
Viscounts of the West Kingdom or something?
it's not.
Okay. All right. Number 4.
Question 4.
All right. Number 4. Dang. Is this a deduction game?
No.
There's no market, so it can't be a trade-in.
Kind of a Euro game.
No, it's kind of mainly Euro, but not mainly Euro. He struggled to give us a clear answer on that. So the resources are going to be useful.
We're going to put an asterisk by this one.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, and I'm going to put an asterisk on my mouse. You know, it's so long since I played a new game. I can't think of any new games. I'm going to say, is this game a 30-minute game or less?
Ooh.
You should say on the box.
It depends.
Okay, depends.
No, and it depends.
Okay.
It depends.
So far, I'm looking at the components and thinking this is a quick kind of
game.
That's like
yeah.
Well, and he likes some of those, so this could be. Yeah. Ryan is the one that got me playing Silver and Gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crossings is a smaller box. No, can't be that. That's question 4 anyway.
So my fourth question is, but this is.
You've said your fourth question, which is
No,
deduction game. It's component number 4, Ryan.
Component.
Well, I want 2 4s. Okay, you do your 4.
I want 2 4s.
Oh.
Okay, let me see that. Okay, this is a little dude that's a knight horse with a pole. What do you call that? The jousting.
It's a sword. It looks like a sword.
Oh, it's a sword. Okay, so this could be a first player marker. It's wooden. It looks purple to me.
Yeah.
Is it purple or is it black?
It's purple.
So, okay.
It's a sword. He's not holding up the tail of the horse, is he?
No. It's a sword.
Okay.
Okay, I got an idea.
That would be an interesting way to ride a horse, but
yeah, well, you might be helping him with something. It might be
right.
Squeeze, push.
This is a Renegade Games game, I think, called something of Scythia. Riders of Scythia, or
wrong.
Right. We should give him a buzzer. You need to have a buzzer sound effect.
Wrong.
Yeah, well, I'll put that on the edit. I'll do the.
Yeah, only do that on your wrong answers.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, make mine sound flowery.
Okay.
Yeah. More pleasant.
I'll make butterflies come out.
Yeah,
well.
make it beautiful.
I don't know how I'm going to capture the sound of butterflies, but
you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a guess?
Got no clue whatsoever.
Oh, that seems so good.
Question number 5.
Okay, question number 5. Is this an area control game?
It could be.
Could be. I want some more it's yes or no. It's not
yes
could
no.
be. Yeah, maybe. Paper or plastic? Yes, please. No, we don't do that here.
That's made me laugh. Okay. Let me consult.
Oh, he's consulting the aura of his board game geekadilium.
Mm-hmm.
Not area control.
Not area control.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's something that made him think it was. All right. Well, that's my question.
Okay. I'll just. Is it Total War Rome?
It is not.
No. Okay. That's just like the first thing I can see on the hotness list.
Didn't you have a question?
Oh, it was a question, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry. Question.
Because then you get to look at the 5th component.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Is this game fantasy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantasy. Okay,
It's
so
fantasy.
it can't be Rome.
Okay, then I was thinking that. Okay, so now we got to guess fantasy. Oh, that messes with me. That was a great question. I was going to say Hadrian's Wall, but it's not that then.
Yeah.
No.
Fantasy games that came out in the last couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the fifth component. We get to see the fifth component.
This I say for last because I thought this would be the dead giveaway, but
Ugh. Okay, it's a math book.
it's a book. I'm not showing you the front because it'll give it away, but it is. Maybe I can flip through some pages. It's a book.
Wow,
it's a
That's
big
a nice book.
It comes with a book.
Could I see the front?
No.
He showed it for a flash there. Pause the thing and screen capture that.
I think it said Lord of the Rings. No,
That's the game board. If that's a hint.
That's a game.
yeah, that's a good hint. But
okay,
doesn't ring any bells for me.
I'm gonna say it's the Lord of the Rings RPG.
No.
And I'm gonna say, Ryan, you have pipped us. Well done.
Ah! He's foiled us.
I have foiled.
Oh, Robin Hood from Cosmos.
Yes.
I want that
Robin
one.
Hood.
So, why did you pick up this game then, Ryan?
So this was on my. I had no idea. I forgot I had pre-ordered it, and so I actually had 2 copies of this, but one was sent from BGG Secret Santa, Board Game Geek Secret Santa. So.
Oh yeah.
But that was my. Yeah, but this was on my radar going to BGG Con in November, and this sold me. I saw the book, and I love storytelling games, and I saw this, and that's why I was confused on the time, right? Because I've heard that the first few scenarios are quick, and then they get longer as you go on, and you're actually lifting up pieces on the board to reveal things, and so
Now, didn't this get a Spiel des Jahres nomination?
I believe it did.
For the Kenner Spiel.
Let's see, was it Kenner?
It was Kenner Spiel or Spiel des Jahres nomination, I think, last year, if I remember right.
Looking.
Because it was that Mega City something.
Yeah.
Metropolis game. And
oh, yes, it was. It was a 2021 Spiel des Jahres nominee. So you are correct, sir.
Well, that sounds a lot of fun. We're going to move on to number 2 of the game show. So, Barry, we got to sharpen up because we only got 2 chances now to foil. He thinks he's got it going against us.
And keep him in his cell.
Exactly.
Well, we need someone to catch those mice and stop them eating your
yeah, we'll let him have the mice just every now and then. You can have a mouse. Here, just sneak one in there every 3 days, and he'll think it looks good.
He even pipped Kabuki Kid. She couldn't get it either.
I thought the book was a dead giveaway, but
yeah.
Well, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's even in mass production yet. Is it, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Haven't heard much about it recently. But so anyway, okay.
Okay. Question number 2 is: what is the game that Ryan is most excited about getting? Okay, and in this round, he's going to draw us an image, or he has already drawn us an image. We will describe it to you guys for listening.
I'm going in fresh here.
He's going in fresh. He's Fresh Prince of drawing.
Okay, that means that we've got to do some background music while he's drawing.
We need some of that Wheel of Fortune music.
Yes.
With the butterflies for me. Make it beautiful.
Or maybe I'll start putting that dark quarter Louisiana 80s style music in the background just to tempt people.
80s style?
80s style, yes.
Yeah, is it going to be ominous, head banging?
This picture
is going to be? It's going to be big hair rock ballad.
No, so some of the things that they've suggested that I'd listen to is the Max Payne soundtrack. They want something dark like that, but they also said they might want to go into like the Vangelis Blade Runner stuff.
Okay, you ready?
But anyway.
Okay, here's
on with the game.
Completely awful.
He is so good. You should see his drawing.
That's an alien.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hold it still. We're gonna try to explain this, but oh my god,
It's Alien. Just say it's Alien. Ridley Scott's Alien.
How old are you? Did you just graduate kindergarten?
I have no creative artistic ability.
No, it's very good, Ryan.
It looks like it's okay. I know what it is. So we got to explain this picture. Put the picture back up. For our audio listeners. Okay, you can see it. He's got 2 arms with 3 fingers, but they look like little alien fingers. It's got 2 kind of legs, but they look like big fat stovepipe legs. But then he's got this goofy head, and coming out of his goofy head is this long tongue with a head on the end of it. And I know what this is. This is Alien, the deck builder game.
No. No,
yes, it's Alien. It's Alien, the Alien game.
It's Alien: Fate of the Nostromo.
No, what? That's the alien creature. It's Alien.
It is.
Yeah, it's what we know what this is. There's another game, Alien.
Come on, fellas. You know that.
It must be Kabuki that gets this.
Not
Nemesis.
Nemesis
Lockdown.
Nemesis Lockdown.
Wow, that just.
So I pledged for it on Kickstarter. I've been wanting this for a long time, and so I did the pledge apparently, and I completely forgot about it. That does the shipping where they ship it all together, but they didn't quite have everything. So I watched all my friends get it, but I just got notification like 2 days ago that it was shipping. So I'm very excited.
Wow. So who makes that?
Oh,
that wasn't Mythic.
I gave them a lot of money, whoever it was. Let me. Let's see. Maybe they'll answer it before I will.
Yeah, we got it here. There it is.
Awaken Realms.
BG. It's Awaken Realms, yeah.
Awaken Realms.
And so have you got the first version
No.
of the game? Yep.
So this pledge for Lockdown, I went all in because I didn't have the previous stuff.
Yeah.
So I went all in on everything.
Okay. And so you've heard good things about the original game.
Yep.
Okay.
For some reason, I had a chance to play it last summer, and I declined because I wanted to wait for my copy. And also maybe because I didn't want to play it and be like, oh, that's a disappointment. But no, I don't know if it is. But it seems to scratch all the right itches for that kind of thing. And yeah.
Yeah.
According to Shut Up, Sit Down, right, Disney owns the rights to Aliens, so they made Nemesis. So it's similar kind of thing from what I've seen. So
Okay, so we shall see which game is the better out of the two when Fate of the Nostromo comes as well. Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh, there's a Rodney Smith video. Oh, I didn't even know that. I better check that out.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So there we go. Question number 2 answered. Kabuki gets that one. So maybe we should hire Kabuki to be on our team and maybe we'll win. So we're going to move into the last question.
She's very smart.
She is very smart. And I can't remember what the last question is. Okay, so this question is, what is Ryan's current favorite game? The one that he's playing the most and dreaming about while at work or taking to bed with him and reading the rules you do that. You take games to bed with you just to refresh the rules. You may play a game
it's like a pillow.
5 times.
You caress it, you love it.
Yeah.
I love it and hug it and
you call it George. In this round, Ryan's going to give us 5 one-word clues, and we're going to have a guess after each one and see if we can narrow this down and hopefully
5
keep him.
one-word clues. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, he's. All right, we can redeem ourselves a little bit here. We're out of practice.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
what
long
this is
time since
showing
I watched
us.
It's a long time since I watched a Dice Tower video. So, yeah, I am out of practice.
All right, number 1.
This This borders on the sketchy clue, but I'm going to say it anyway. So iPad.
Okay, so I think he's saying this has an app that's probably driving the game, and I'm going to guess Mansions of Madness.
No, and I'm going to guess my favorite game, which is great to play on an iPad, is Railroad Inc.
Ooh.
No.
Okay, number 2.
Modular.
Modular. Okay, so he's probably setting up stuff, and so it's probably. Go ahead, Barry.
I'm going to say Descent.
Nope.
No.
Okay, but we're close, I bet. An iPad. He said it's sketchy though, but it's.
No, the iPad was a sketchy clue. I didn't know if that was kind of a cheat.
Yeah, but that could apply to many games. There's some games which are just purely
Oh.
app.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it isn't an app. Maybe there's an iOS version of it.
Yeah.
Or something. But
That's why I went with Railroad Inc.
This is his current favorite game. How about Lord of the Rings Final Quest of Middle-earth or whatever?
Journeys into Middle-earth.
Journals to Middle-earth, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. That's it.
We're the winners! We're the winners! One time!
Yay!
You got it.
Oh, cool. So, explain to us. We already know why it's so great, but explain to us why you think this game is so great.
Yeah, I'm very late coming to the table with this. So I have everything that's out, and I just cracked the shank on it a few weeks ago. Descent is one that I also am enjoying right now, currently, Berkey, but that's not the one I chose. But so it very much has a lot of DNA from Mansions, the new Descent, right? If you're familiar with those type of games, you'll be familiar with how to play this. I mean, there's variations, right? Yeah. But Lord of the Rings, the LCG, is one of my favorite games, and anything Lord of the Rings. So this one just really strikes that chord with me, right? And just that kind of adventuring, but have been getting into playing that. Finally sat down and we're going to have weekly meetings with my brother to go through the game. And it's one of those where, and that's so hard about stuff like this, right? Is finding a group that consistently you can go through and march through these campaigns and things like that. Yeah. So I thought my son was going to be one of those people, and he started to be with Descent, the new Descent. But he quickly took that game, our first playthrough, learned how to play it, and now he's doing it with his friends. So I've been left in the wilderness, so to speak. And so I have a brother that lives nearby, and we started Lord of the Rings. And the added bonus, he chose to do this himself. He is painting the miniatures. So he he brings back some minis each time we play with painted minis.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a bonus. But it's a great game if you like those type of storytelling modular games. And it sounds like you two are familiar with it.
Yeah, we actually when we went to the UK Games Fair, we got to play this. Barry, you were there, and Josiah was there, and we got to play this with Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules at his place in Columpton, right before the UK Games Fair. 2020 or 19.
It implemented the app really, really well. I found a little bit better than Mansions of Madness. And again, I was from a technical standpoint, the music was just constantly evolving and changing, and it blew my mind. Just there's not a moment when I could hear a repetitive track, but yeah, it was good to see these things as you're building up the map, and it was revealing these new plot points and these new agendas that were coming, and it was just exciting, especially playing with friends as well, instead of like playing the app on your own, like what I do with Descent. So yeah, I was impressed. Yeah.
So, we got through a version of our game show. What game is behind the door? Thanks everybody for joining with it. We had lots of comments. I just clicked on the chat, and We've got new people. John is in the chat, and Kabuki Kid, and Tim Douglas, and Trent Turner's here. So all kinds of fun people joining in the chat and joining with us. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we're going to move on now to our Babble topic.
And now it's time for the
Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's board game Babble.
I love that graphic. Why would anybody give a couple of monkeys like us a podcast?
Right.
no one would give it to us. We had to take it.
We grabbed it by the horns and seized the opportunity.
Yes, before eating bananas.
And now look at us. We got like 25 followers.
26.
So we're going to talk about the topic that we when Barry and I were talking about ideas, we started talking about marketing and talking about the last 2 years during the pandemic. With Game Toppers also sponsors the show, and I do a lot of marketing in the hobby at conventions and online and all kinds of different methods of communication, social media. But in the last 2 years, there's been drastic changes for a lot of companies in how they actually market. And we're talking about the board game space, but it may be applicable to other sectors in business as well. But with Ryan, a good friend of mine, works for Off Duty Ninjas. And well, maybe you can give us a little bit of background specifically about what Off Duty Ninjas do. And then we can get into some of these marketing concepts and how it's changed, what we're doing now, what you think the future might look like, things like that.
Yeah, so Off Duty Ninja is a company, like we discussed earlier in the show, that Kira Peevely formed. And so it's a company that will actually, our clientele are other publishers that we market their products, and it feels we can fulfill a lot of different roles that a company would need, and whether it be say they want to build out their products on Amazon, or if they want us to run a Kickstarter or assist in a Kickstarter. And there's a myriad of things that can be involved with that, is helping them build their Kickstarter pages, create advertising to promote that product, and try to build a fan base for their Kickstarter. There's clients that go direct to retail and not even Kickstart, and so it's our way of building marketing plans and ways to advertise to build up those releases as well, to run social media content for these publishers, and that covers a huge gambit of everything, right? And it's also handling some shipping and review copies. If they're releasing something out, we'll handle the logistics of getting it shipped, which reviewers. We have a large database of reviewers and media people that we can go to for how to plays or whatever those needs are fulfilled. We also do customer service for some publishers if they need customer service help. It's a huge gambit of a lot of different things we can do, right? And it's Kara's done an amazing job at custom fitting to what the needs of that publisher is and what they need help with. And that's what I've admired the most, is what Off Duty Ninja can bring to those publishers and help them out with whatever need they have. So.
Yeah, I can vouch for Kira in that regard too, because she was very easy to work with and very accommodating to, okay, I can handle this very well myself, but I need help with this. And she had a lot of resources also to help her with other things. Like if she wasn't an expert in a particular area, she had other resources that she could bring in to accommodate that particular need, and incredibly responsive and very, very caring about how her job is done, you know.
Very much so. And she comes from a very strong marketing background. She's even worked with, had a client, which was Walmart, and worked with huge, you know, she's just got a wealth of knowledge. And it's been great learning like I said earlier, this is part of the industry that I don't have the strongest experience with. So I have learned just tremendous amounts in the short amount of time I've been there.
Who are some of the clients? I don't know if can you mention the clients you work with?
So we are working with Renegade Games is someone that we work with, and Roxley, Funko, Tabletop Tycoon, Smirk and Dagger, Elf Creek. Who else? Oh, Board and Dice. We're currently helping them with their current Kickstarter. So
yeah, what is that again?
Their current Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Le Grand Ha. It's re-implementation of Le Grand Ha. So
yeah, that's right. It's kind of an anniversary edition or something, wasn't it?
It's just they. If you're familiar with what they did with Yido, they kind of changed up the artwork, brightened it up, right? Because remember the other version of Le Grand Ha was it's an amazing game, but they've changed the graphics. I apologize for the dog in the background, by the way.
We like him.
Apologize for that. He's chatty. He wants to be on the show. So he
bring him on.
So they've changed a lot of the components, a lot of artwork, gave it a facelift, so to speak, and really did some nice treatment with it. They also
that's on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, that's currently running on Kickstarter now. We've got a few weeks left on the campaign. So, and they have a large version of the game, La Granda, as well. So you can actually supersize components, so to speak, that you can do with that. And then there's a lot of more modules to the game too, and things that are going to be seen with the game. So I'm excited for that, and I like Le Grand Ha. So excited about
there it is.
Yep.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, they did a beautiful job with it.
Yeah, it does look different. Where is it? I had it. There it is.
So that's So they actually have a separate listing on Board Game Geek.
Okay,
that's the original.
The Le Grand Ha Deluxe, the Le Grand Ha Deluxe Master set.
Okay,
is what is current. So,
awesome. Well, that sounds good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the history of traditional marketing methods in the board game space, and talk about how that's changed. I think the way to maybe preface that, I can give a little bit of experience from my experience in the hobby, but it seemed that one of the primary methods that you were seeing companies get exposure and actual interaction with the customer was at the conventions. Conventions started taking on a life of their own. It became summer camp for geeks. It became friends getting together, but you also started seeing publishers getting bigger and larger displays, and you go to Essen and you see some amazing grandiose displays. I remember the first time I attended Gen Con for my son's graduation gift, and we arrived, and that's when it was about 40,000 people, and I couldn't imagine that the hobby was this because of all these fantastic booths and setups and the plethora of games that were there. And this was a really big marketing tool. And then the pandemic hit. Since what we can kind of moving into a post-COVID type of environment, I don't know if we can really call it that, but just for reference sake, you're seeing conventions that have started to open up a bit with restrictions and whatnot. And you've been to some of those conventions. Tell us what you think about how we've traditionally marketed with the convention cycles, how that's looking now, and what you expect to happen, how people are responding, and publishers.
I mean, traditionally, it's similar to what you said. When I came into the space, that was, Gen Con was the huge release, and it still is for a lot of people, for the huge release show. You had these target conventions you were trying to hit. Origins, per se, was maybe we just show what's coming out at Gen Con or what we'll have at Gen Con. And Gen Con was, hey, this is our big release. And then you typically try to have one for the Spiel in Essen, right? You had to have a big Spiel release. And that wasn't the case for all publishers, but that seemed to be kind of the Gamma Trade Show, which is a trade show for retailers, used to be just this is what we have coming out this year, kind of giving a sneak peek into all of that. And that used to just traditionally be the way of marketing these things. I remember the first trade show. It was held in Las Vegas. I think I went in 2006. It was very different back then. 2006, 2007. I remember going, and at the time I was helping Mayday, but wasn't working for them. And the media coverage was pretty much nil. I mean, it was just, I remember seeing a prototype for 7 Wonders at that trade show.
Okay.
And I took some pictures, and I don't remember if I sent a tweet about it or something, and send it around, and people were like, oh, this is amazing, or because you would just hear about it, and media wasn't a big push at that show back then. And that has completely changed, as you know. It seems like media occupies a huge amount of time at these trade shows now, with trying to get your product out and talk to try to get it visible to as many people as you can.
That's such a good point, because I remember when I first got into the hobby, I would listen to a lot of podcasts, and I would watch a certain amount of videos. There wasn't as much on the video that I watched. I'd see some Dice Tower videos and things of that nature. I remember first meeting Tom Vassell at Gen Con with Josiah and Trevor, and they knew him, and he came over to our table, and I looked up at him. I didn't know who he was, but of course he was Tom Vassell. Well, I was doing stone masonry work back at that time. I had a couple really large summer jobs, and I started binge listening to the Dice Tower, to Blue Peg, Pink Peg. I found out those guys, loved Rob and Christina and all the folks over there. The Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, Jamie and the whole crew there. The Dukes of Dice, another one of my favorite ones, and Rolling Dice and Taking Names, Marty and Tony. Just love these people, and they would start talking about the conventions, and they would talk about it in light of the upcoming releases that were going to be released at Gen Con. So all the publishing cycle seemed to be geared towards, okay, we got to get this completed, in the early January type of time frame, so that the publishing cycle happens and that it actually gets shipped in time to be at Gen Con. And how many times did that not happen, where these big releases were being marketed, but they didn't make the Gen Con, and we had to air freight a bunch over. Well, now with the cost of air freight and cost of what's happening, there's no way you could do that. But that was the big push, right?
Right. That was the way to push that out. So, and it's just, so much has changed, especially with the pandemic, on how we view conventions. And it's going to be interesting to watch over the next few years if we return to how it was pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, because there was sentiments I overheard during that time prior to the conventions last year that, hey, look, we did just fine without spending all this money attending these conventions, right? Mm-hmm. I heard that from some publishers. Is like, our sales were up, we were up, we were fine. Mm-hmm. So the questions that were being asked, do we need to show up to these shows for that reason? And then with the show starting, there's a lot of publishers that were taking the wait and see. When I attended Gen Con last year, I had some publisher friends that weren't there that were saying, give me all the information you can. How is it? How are sales going? What's going on? What's the vibe like? What's going on with that? And we saw a lot of success with last year's UK Game Expo. I think that was one of the first, larger shows that happened last year. Mm-hmm. And it was raving reviews from publishers on sales. I think people were anxious to go to a show and spend money. And
the same was true for Essen as well. It was just like, there weren't as many publishers there, but a lot of them sold out of stock because people were thirsty.
And I think in my conclusion, personally, I feel like, I don't know that it's something you can completely cut out, because there's an audience there, and there's a market there, and there's sales there. Gen Con was a lower attendance, both with publishers and attendees. I know they capped it, but it was a successful convention. There's a lot of publishers that sold out and did quite well. Robert, who's here on this, was watching the stream, just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, Arcane Wonders had a huge presence. And what was kind of interesting from what I could see is a lot of the larger publishers did not have their normal presence because they were kind of pulling back a little. It's like, hey, we can't pay full price for a show that's going to have half the people and half the exposure. And their marketing budgets are really significant. And so it even becomes a bigger, but it allowed for maybe a lot of the smaller publishers to shine a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. And I think it exposed a lot of games that maybe attendees would have overlooked, gave some exposure to that. So
definitely.
That was kind of the impression that I got from, now you went to Origins as well, but the Origins didn't have quite, they had a crazy, the way the schedule worked out for Gen Con, and then 2 weeks later Origin hits. I'm sure that had to have impact the Origins numbers as far as publishers and consumers coming, right?
Yeah, I know that was definitely a factor in talking to people in the industry, and especially I think at the time the Geekway of the West was just typically in May, was held around that time too. So people that were going all in were having to juggle their staff at trying to have a presence at all three of these shows in so close proximity. But you're correct. Origins had it done a little differently with the attendance limitations and not as many publishers showing up. So that the exhibit hall shared the same space as some of the gaming hall.
I know for us at Game Toppers, because we were in the middle of our fulfillment, it was really difficult for us to, we didn't think there was going to be shows at the first part of the year, but then we were in a fulfillment cycle that we had to deliver product to our backers first. So I can't go to a show and sell stuff to people then when I haven't delivered everything else. And because there was so many logistical challenges, it just wasn't working out well for us to be there. But we have so many publishers that use our toppers. We have 30 publishers that had Game Toppers in all of their booths, but a lot of those publishers, Ryan helped us out at Gen Con and at Origin to go take some pictures so we could kind of highlight some of our affiliate partners that were there. But I mean, Arcane Wonders had quite a few toppers, Thunderstone Games, or Thunderworks Games, excuse me, and Capstone Games. Scyther Gaming was at one of the shows. We had some, but it was much diminished because of social distancing requirements and space, and just a lot of our larger affiliates like CMON, Renegade Game Studios, like AEG had a few of the toppers there, but they kind of refocused the marketing that there was less demoing going on and a lot more just sales booths.
Right. There was a lot more focus on that. And then even the conventions themselves, some of them were shutting down demoing areas or limiting how that worked and things like that. So people were trying to find other places to take care of some of that or do some of that.
So that particular thing, you go to a convention, do you want to actually physically touch and play with the game and have someone teach you a rule, or at least a little bit of a one-round overview of the game before you purchase it? Do you think that strategy that many companies employed, do you think that's going to change compared to what we saw this year, just a lot of sales booths with stacks of games that they were selling?
I think that model will be something that remains, and I think it also depends on the title, right? There's a lot of games out there that sight unseen, nobody needs a demo. They've got the hotness, they've seen the reviewers talk about it, they're just buying the game, right? But there's other games that perhaps somebody wants to get it and take a look at it. And I'll use, if he doesn't mind, Floodgate Games. I worked with them at Gen Con. They had a game, Holy. And then this game, Holy, it's a 3-tiered board, right? So that game was actually released during 2020, during the midst of all of that. So they had good sales, but they felt like it didn't get a true shot at its potential because it's such an amazing board presence. So its first public showing was at Gen Con this past year, and it sold very well. I believe they sold out of what they brought there because of the table presence, right? People still wanted that tactile feel and to look at it. And I mean, you can't help but stop and say, what is this game?
Right.
Because it's beautiful, it's well done. So yeah, it took off. So it proved to them what they thought all along, is that it just needed, it's a good show selling type game. And so it just depends, I guess, on what the publisher's bringing to the market, right? Of what, if it's a game that's, I mean, we all know there's so much coming out.
Right.
But if my game has such a strong table presence that it's going to benefit from these shows, I think that's where the demos are going to still continue to be a good thing for them. So
yeah.
I know go ahead, Barry.
Whereas something which has an IP or it's a sequel to an existing game like the Nemesis, I think they are just going to, as you say, carry their own weight, and they don't need that presence. But at the same time, it does help boost a little bit of their sales. But yeah, those hidden gems which are almost like Toy Factor-ish, or maybe even Star Trek chess, 3-layered boards, then yeah, having that presence is a big boost of actually people being able to see it in its full glory.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's something said, like a picture says 1,000 words.
Yeah.
But seeing something live is even that much more. And especially when we were talking about the media, when the media folks that are reviewing games and talking about games, when they are actually able to take some of those pictures of the actual setup of everything, likewise connecting with the sales managers and whatnot to go a little bit deeper about the game and or its marketing, and how that's going to be, and sometimes a review copy or all of those kind of things. A lot of times those point of contacts were happening at the convention. And so they were getting a tactile feel. Likewise, they would go back and talk to their channels and do their influencing based on how they felt about what they saw and what their experiences were. So that was, I think, still very important. I know for us at Game Toppers, we have the comment all the time that when people get their topper, they go, "Oh, Berkey, this is so much better than I thought it was. So much better than the pictures. This is much beefier, much higher quality than I imagined." And until people have that tactile feel of a product, it does influence your decisions, right?
Right. It totally does. I mean, as you're saying that, I was trying to remember, I apologized to the publisher. There was a game at Gen Con that it was about forest fires that would spread, and you'd have these orange gems, these bright orange gems that represent the fire spreading through the forest, and you're combating it. But that game got so much buzz. I had so many people saying, "This gorgeous game with these orange," everyone talked about these orange flame gems that were, so a lot of that tactile and visual presence of it can really draw people in, for sure.
Can I ask, what has been the most strangest and surprising marketing technique that you've seen recently?
Oh, that is a very good question that I've seen.
I mean, yeah, go on.
There's a lot of traditional marketing plays. I'm just trying to see if what has stood out recently. When Berkey was speaking, like there's so much content media now, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
I keep going back when I first got into gaming. We talked about there's like 5 podcasts, and there wasn't a lot of reviews, but I just love how much content there is out there, and there's different spaces that are exploring. I still think TikTok in the gaming industry is going to grow much larger than it is now. It's there, but I think there's going to be a much larger presence because the attention spans, right? TikTok, you have limited views, right? So, and some people like a walkthrough and a playthrough of a game and a how to play. So I don't think those are going anywhere, but these people that want these quick hit unboxings or something on TikTok, which is a very creative space, right? And it's a very challenging space for influencers to prove themselves on TikTok. But I think that's going to be a growing market in advertising for gaming in the future.
Well, let's talk about that real quickly. Just a little bit about social media, traditional methods. In in the way past, one of the big things that was a push was to develop your database so that you could send out mass emails. And that seemed to be one of the big focuses of developing a database, doing giveaways, doing signups, all of that type of thing to develop that. But then we started seeing much more of a trend as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, Reddit, board game groups, all of these different things within Facebook, becoming very prolific ways of getting that imagery and that marketing out. And now you're seeing a lot of this new TikTok, quick, fast, little blast type of marketing. Twitch TV too, live streaming, and some of those kind of things. So how do you think most of that's just going to remain in effect? And we're still going to be doing those things, or do you think we're going to be migrating to different methods?
I think we've seen some migration, right? There's some YouTube channels that have migrated over to Twitch because of that space. I think Board Game Geek is one of them. I think they're starting to push how they do that. And I know that they're kind of changing how they're going to have their presence at shows going down the road. But I think some of it'll stay the same. There's always going to be space for that, but a lot of it's going to evolve. And I think with new platforms, like I mentioned with TikTok, you'll probably see a lot more evolving there, right? There's strong influencers on TikTok. In fact, there's a influencer that I just met at Gen Con, and she has quite a following, right? Some of her views have been 2 million views on board gaming TikToks. And in fact, one publisher pointed out to me, she's like, yeah, she sold out one of the print runs of a game because of one of her TikTok videos.
Wow, who is that?
That's Benita.
Okay.
Benita is her name. And so he was like, yeah, one of her TikTok videos sold out her print run. So, which is incredible. So
yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be, and who knows, we have this interview 5 years from now, it'll be the next hot, whatever social media thing that's going to be going on. But
be holograms in the sky.
Yeah. and some people still like digesting readable content on reviews on BGG, and I just love that there's so much of it now, right?
Yeah,
it used to be so limited, and I just love that there's so much,
and the quality's gone up as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago Dice Tower was but now it's like but there's not just Dice Tower, there's Man versus Meeple,
and they can feed off of each other too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much coming out that it's not just the huge publishers that are getting noticed. There's gems of games that are always out there that are being discovered by influencers that can start bringing attention to some of this.
Well, and you're seeing I've seen anyway, a fairly good crossover and even collaborative efforts between some of these media influencers, the Dice Tower Network, for instance, and Rodney Smith and Watch It Played, and some of the different people he has involved. And there's a lot of synergy and collaboration even with some of these channels. Tom will have Jamie on for their Christmas show, or Rolling Dice might be have Rob Rouse from Blue Peg Pink Peg on the show, or the Brawling Brothers. There's all these different interactions where people, it doesn't feel very territorial. It doesn't feel competitive that much in the folks that I know anyway. They seem very collaborative.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that's speaks to the industry itself, right? And that collaboration happens between publishers too. It's a very interesting, unique market, right? Because for the most part, publishers are all friendly with other and we're competitors in a sense. And same goes with media, right? There's it's more of this because we share such a amazing hobby with each other. So
do you think during the COVID time frame, do you think we lost a lot of channels, or do you think we increased a lot of channels?
Ooh, I think it increased from what I gathered, because it seemed like people were thirsty for content. And we saw a lot of things get driven, like Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator weren't as large pre-COVID as they are now, right? So
Yeah.
it definitely changed the design space with game designers and the way that they show their prototypes that are going to stick with us going forward, right? A way that, right? It's no longer ship it to you, look at the game, right? They can show me how to play the game. And so, but I think it increased other influencers because people were stuck in homes, thirsty for some kind of content. So that I think that boomed the getting together and let's play online and let's get together and play. So I think sounds like.
Yeah, I feel a little bit out of touch because we haven't been to shows, and yet I've when you work in the hobby, when you're a hobbyist, you indulge yourself in the hobby. You're buying games, you're going to shows, you're playing, you're listening. When you become in the business of the hobby, all of a sudden your life takes on a little different turn than you thought. I work a lot more than I play games, of course. So you feel a little bit out of touch. And when it comes to media, there's so much, it's hard to listen to it all. I'm behind on a few podcasts, that type of thing. I don't watch near the videos that used to be out there.
No. No. I very rarely watch a Board Game Geek video because I just enjoy watching Lincoln play games. But I've devolved past media. I just rely on more word of mouth for board games than anything else. More than like flicking through Facebook and seeing after every 3 posts, there's a new board game coming out. And it's like, advert. No, you skip that. That's been...
So is that within your own circles, or how are you getting that information to choose to buy a game? Is it when you say word of mouth? Are you just talking?
It's word of mouth within circles. You have your friends, and when you do get together, you talk about games. I mean, I've got friends who are still like their head is stuck to the internet, and it's like, oh, that game looks good. Oh, that game. I'm always getting like links to Kickstarters. You should back this, Barry. You're like this. It's like the Skyrim one. It's like, okay. I like Skyrim, but do I really want a Skyrim board game? I'm thinking about it now, and I'm thinking, yes, I do. But it's word of mouth from the people that I've worked with as well. And I talk to the team at Bombaics, or I talk to the team at Holy Grail. They tell me about what games they've been playing, and we pass on good words about games that, that game is really good if you like that game. And it's like that kind of word of mouth. We just conversing, maybe at the table playing, or maybe just on Messenger. But it's that, and then you click a link, you look at something, and you go, okay, yeah, that looks interesting, and maybe I'll buy it. But word of mouth is, for me, the most important thing, I think.
Chris Godlet is in the house, and the charity board gamer. He says, who let a ninja on the live stream? Oh, he's off duty.
Yeah.
Great dad joke. That's Tim Douglas.
That's great.
And he says, we missed having game toppers at the cons and the Berkey jerky.
Yeah.
I usually would make up a bunch of jerky and have it in my backpack. And that got on that one of the conventions. We were at the Secret Cabal meetup, and I gave I was offering a few pieces to Chris Miller from the Secret Cabal. And he didn't reach in to grab a piece. He took the whole bag and he just started taking off. And it was like, well, I was going to give it away all the way anyway, but it was just the funniest thing. And then it got on the channel, and then it became, Chris is going to steal your jerky. And it became this kind of thing. And that all happened from social media, podcasting, all this. But I think for many of us in the hobby, getting together at conventions, it's one of those times that we get to reconnect with one another, and we miss one another. And so I think there's a lot of pent up demand for that, but there's also still a lot of concern on whether or not that's safe, or whether or not, that's going to happen for different people. And so
so prior to Gen Con, there was a local convention here. I'm in Utah. It's called SaltCon. And they had a summer convention last year that was just over a weekend. And this was in July, I think. But we kind of got used to the online play at this point, and so it kind of, not to get too serious about it, but I remember I walked in the gaming hall on day one, and here I see tables of people playing games, and I forgot how much I missed that, right?
Mm.
With all the shows 20. Like, I actually got kind of choked up about it, I'll be honest. And it just felt good to be back, or to see this happening in slower pieces, but although it was happening, like it's really good to see people gaming in that kind of space again. So
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's before we shut this down, let's talk about one other thing that I think is really important when it comes to marketing, and we're talking about trends, what way it's been, what it might look like in the future. And I think one of the things we have to discuss is Kickstarter crowdfunding. Indiegogo to a much lesser degree, GameFound, a new player. How do you see that type of marketing in the industry? How it's been, what you foresee happening?
I see it continuing to grow. I mean, as we all are familiar, Kickstarter is a behemoth, right? That's the way that it's done. And then GameFound is also a big player that's coming on scene that has more of a specific to gaming. So it'll be interesting to see. I know publishers are deciding which one to use, or maybe they're going to, if they have a game coming out, they'll do one on one platform and their next release will be on another platform. So I think these will continue to be something that grows. I think for some publishers, I know Kickstarter has been something that has been a good pulse for them on printing, and especially the way prices are going up and shipping costs are going up for containers and getting their product over here. Some choices are being made to rely on that to give them a pulse on their print runs, right? If it's not going to do well on Kickstarter, perhaps that's a judgment call for what they're going to do printing wise, because not that it was super cheap prior to the pandemic, but it's gotten a lot more expensive, as Berkey, you well know, and the costs of getting things over here. So I think the risk may not be as large as it used to be, as saying, oh, we'll just do this print run and this, hope it, because it's such, the costs are growing. And I think we're going to see that ripple with, or actually we have seen that with prices going up on some products as well to help mitigate some of that expense. But that's the world in which we live in now, is right. So,
well, one thing that I saw that was kind of interesting was GameFound introduced or they're going to implement a new software that helps publishers with the VAT, because international rules have changed significantly about VAT, that the VAT has to be collected on the full retail of the product. The publisher also has to pay a wholesale VAT when it gets imported to their fulfillment center. They pay that amount of money, and then they get that credited back at a later time, but they still have to collect this retail tax and then pass that off to the customer. Like if I was mailing a package to Europe right now and I sent it to Barry and said it's worth $100, he'd have to pay his 19% on top of the $100.
Don't remind me.
So it's much different than the way we think about things here. But that process of being registered in the different countries and VAT registered is very costly and complicated, especially for our way of thinking. And from what my understanding is, GameFound is working on an implementation where they can handle that all for the publisher.
Which would be great, because that seems to be such a struggle. And just learning the system has been the
language
difficult.
barrier, the cost associated. I mean, we're spending, our market in Europe is still growing. It's not that significant compared to our Canadian and domestic market. But we're spending close to $5,000 just to handle the accounting of it. Well, that really dips into your profits. The shipping costs have gone through the roof, and then trying to manage that's a lot of time. Now, we're using a partner that's helping us do it, but GameFound doesn't probably fit with us as well because of our SKUs are so wide. We have such a large group of packages and different things that we need to offer, and the fulfillment is fairly complicated. Where we use BackerKit as our late pledge manager from the Kickstarter. So the pledge manager modules likewise are incredibly important marketing tools for the companies, because not only do people purchase during the Kickstarter campaign, they also late pledge for that product after the fact.
Right. And I think it definitely creates a barrier, and I hope we can find some solutions to legally work within those restrictions and get the products to the people that need to get the products. And I don't know if Barry has seen it more difficult since he's been implemented to get the games he wants to get his hands on. I know some publishers are working, focusing more on localization, right? What can their foreign partners do to help get this product into consumers' hands? But I don't know if Barry can speak to if it's been difficult for him to get.
Most of the games that I've got have come from big companies, so they always have like a base somewhere in Germany or in France. So I'm not really paying any vast amount of cost extra. So as far as I can speak there, it's just that's it. Sorry, I can't improve the conversation.
Well, people, I know Europeans that this is a big blocking to entry for especially larger
some
projects.
people.
Big games, that it's a big number, and then the shipping costs have gone so outrageous. And a manufacturer just can't eat it. There's not enough meat in there to be able to do that, and it's just the reality of what we're living in. And I don't know what that's going to do for games that are manufactured overseas compared to games that are actually made in Europe, because Germany has a fairly predominant manufacturing for German games and different things, Euro games, and Poland is doing some manufacturing. And I don't know if they're going to start stepping up production so it's more domestic for them.
I think they will do. I'm hoping that they will do, especially after this pandemic. You know, everyone's been relying on China to do everything for them. And I think that we're going to see, hopefully, in the next 5 years, companies setting up bases closer to home so that they can do local printing, and then it will cut the costs there as well.
Yeah. And there's some companies that have discussed, piecing it out, right? They produce something in this factory, produce this locally, and they can kind of have and I know, and I hope this drives more local production into more local markets for publishers to make this more accessible. But the costs are definitely very, I'm preaching to the choir with Berkey, right? The container costs are just outrageous. So a $4,000 shipment has now turned into $20K or more. It's just
We just had this will be a little bit of a segue into ending with our Game Toppers sponsorship, but we just received our 45-foot high container. It got sent to Tacoma, Washington, arrived December 17th, got pulled to a holding yard because of port congestion, held it there for over a month without being able to get access to it. And they charged us $315 for each 5-day segment. So they're going to charge us another $1,500 for just holding it and not letting us have access to it. It's costing almost $8,000 to have it transloaded and shipped to Minnesota. And the container itself was almost $20,000. So it's going to be a $30,000 bill to get this container that used to cost us $5,000 to $6,000. And so those are costs that they're just, it's not whining. It's just the way it is today. Plus the manufacturing costs of everything have gone through the roof. And publishers are really feeling that, because the last thing we want to do is have to make our prices more accessible or less accessible for people's budgets. It's the last thing we want to do. We want to make it accessible. We want to move product. And the higher the price goes, that starts to cut certain groups of people out of it that don't have as much discretionary income. That's the last thing we want to do. But it's kind of the reality right now. And when we talk about going to the future, what we see happening in the future, I I predict that the game board hobby is going to continue to grow, and I think we're still on a very significant curve. Tons of demand, even with the challenges that people are facing with prices. Seeing games going into the $70 range that used to be $50 games, it doesn't seem to be.
It's because we're getting a lot better IP games. That's what it is. There was a time when it's like, oh yeah, I love Queen's Gambit. You know what? I want to buy the board game. Oh, this is a piece of poo. But now it's like, oh wow, Aliens board game. 3 Aliens board games. And they're all good.
Right.
Yeah.
And none of them have the name Monopoly.
I guess what the big question out there regarding this is are things going to stabilize? Are they going to go back to norms that we used to experience? Thoughts?
I think there's going to be some return, but I don't know that it can go all the way back, right? It's like when I was out of the industry and working through the recession in 2008. Well, I was partly in the industry, but you're right. They took away perks during the recession. And when it came back, those perks didn't really come back either. But things came back. So I don't know if it's going to follow that kind of trend, or if they can say, hey, they're used to paying $20K. Why would we cut our shipping down, right? If we just keep
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, until people quit doing it, but there's so much pent up demand the last couple of years because of shortages. Everybody knows this, that you can't get parts for anything hardly anymore. Right. How long will that take to recover? The port congestions, all of the things that are contributing to these situations. My logistics team are optimistic that it will level out at some point, but they don't see any let up until the middle of this next year, and possibly not until the next cycle. And personally, I think we aren't going to see really much of a change probably until about March or April of 2023, after the second Chinese Lunar New Year, because there's still a lot of demand that's been pent up and holding in factories. We're still having labor crises here, and I'm not really seeing that change in the real short term. But eventually, warehouses are going to fill again. Eventually, because a lot of people, we used to do just-in-time inventory practices. We didn't order 100 units. We ordered 25, and when we needed more, we ordered another 25. Those practices now, people are nervous about not having product to sell, so they're overbuying even to take care of their back orders, the pent-up demand, and to make sure that they have enough product. Well, that totally creates this demand cycle that really affects, the supply chain.
Yeah. The charity board gamer says, I don't think it will go back all the way. People enjoy their money. Why drop the prices?
I'd be thrilled if a container went down to 10 grand. It's like I could manage that a lot better than having to make significant, price changes.
Yeah, I think conventions will go back to normal and still be like the big, the big publicity and big money grab by selling all your game copies of your game at the stand. But I also see probably more and more channels opening up, and as you said, I didn't even know TikTok. There were people on TikTok doing board game reviews in 30 seconds or whatever.
I don't do TikTok.
I don't do TikTok.
You gotta embrace it. It's going that way.
Yeah, you got to embrace it, but if you don't need it, then why embrace it?
That's I want to see Barry doing a dance on TikTok. That's what I want to see.
Do the dance.
I can't. My knees have gone now.
Oh, okay.
I've put my knees out.
This has been a super fun topic. We could probably talk about it a long time. I think our show's going a little long, but it's super interesting just to see what's happening in the industry, the trends. And Ryan, thank you very, very much for all of your input and expertise. And of course, your friendship is what's most important to me, but your presence in the hobby, you're a breath of fresh air. So,
thank you. Thank you very much. It's been great being on the show. This has been
a pleasure to meet you, Ryan.
Pleasure. So.
Well, with that, I think we're going to just finish real quick. I'm just going to give a quick plug to Game Toppers, our other sponsor. You can still late pledge and get a lot of the package deals from the Kickstarter. We just received this last container in that had a lot of our new mats, our game hall bags. We have the majority of everything now in stock in our warehouse. We're waiting for our leg kits that allow you to turn your topper into an actual full-blown table. And then our dining covers, which are really cool. They're not going to arrive until about April, but the rest of our product is all basically available. We will be finished with our fulfillment within the next 2 weeks or so for all of our domestic fulfillment. At the end of February, we'll be finishing all of Canadian fulfillment, and then in April shipping stuff off into Europe and Australia, New Zealand, and so forth. But if you late pledge now, we're going to leave the late pledge manager open for about another 2 to 3 weeks, and then that's going to go away, and a lot of those packages are going to go away. So if you're interested in a Game Topper package, you can go to GameToppersLLC.com. You can hit the late pledge manager icons and pictures. You can go directly to Kickstarter, Game Toppers 3.0, and hit the late pledge now button. And you can take advantage of all these great bundles that we have for the leaf kits, where you can extend your topper 2 feet, or you can get your rail bundles where you can make a mini topper. You can get up to 20 different styles of mats and 11 different sizes. I mean, crazy cool stuff that you can still take advantage of. So that you can check out at GameToppersLLC.com. And with that, Barry, do you want to tell people how they can get a hold of us and send us out?
Yeah, no worries. You can find us on Board Game Geek. Our guild is 2248. You can also find us on his website, boardgametheater.com.
Trent Turner's going to show it off his home topper on TikTok. Woo! We're going to be on TikTok, and I don't even know it, but we're going to be there.
I'm TikTok because it's getting late and I need to go to bed. You can find us on my website, boardgameseverybodyshould.com, along with all my music soundtracks. Check them out. And you can find us on our website and on our YouTube channel, Board Game. Oh, there.
Berkey and Badger.
Yeah, Berkey and Badger on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter. And you can find us on all your streaming podcast channels like
everywhere.
iTunes,
type in
Spotify.
Berkey and Badger,
yeah,
and you'll find it's everywhere.
Yeah, we just pop up because we're the only Berkey and Badgers around there.
Yeah,
unlike
Ryan. And don't forget your amazing iTunes audio show that you edit brilliantly with way cool sound effects, and you cut out all the crap stuff. You know, I love that because most of this is crap, but you cut a lot of that out. So
yeah. So my drink slurping and Berkey's beard whistling wind sounds, they'll get cut out. But that's all. As I said, all on our iTunes podcast and Spotify podcast and wherever you listen to podcasts. There you go. And then,
thanks again, everybody, for listening. We're so glad to have you on the show, and thank you again, Ryan.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
We're so glad we had this time together. Now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show. So keep us in mind, get online. Berkey and Badger will be back in no time.